2, 1, 2. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are, and I hope you can hear me okay. I am just going to turn one thing off. There we go, and that thing off as well. There we go. So, hi, welcome. Welcome to this first live stream of the year. This is 2022. How you doing? And just a little bit of setup for today, and I just wanted to show you something that's a little bit different. Khaled, hi. Hope you're doing okay. How's things going? Hope it's all right. Before we get going, this live stream is sponsored. You can hear me all good. Good, because I forgot to add my audio interface in. So good start for the year. I'm glad you can hear me fine now. This is a live stream that is sponsored by these guys, DistroKid. They're the people who I release my music through. They are a digital distributor that push all your music to all the online stores and streaming sites. So if you want to get use of that, what you can do is you can actually release as much music as you want for $19.99 a year. And with that link that's underneath there, where it says distrokid.com/VIP/John Paul Music UK, you can get 7% off your first annual membership. So go and check out the link. It is in the description box as well. Happy New Year, dude. How we doing? You okay? So I've got a couple of questions for the audience, for you guys. First of all, how was Christmas? How was New Year? What did Santa bring you, or did you get it yourself? What's the New Year's resolution? And also, you can ask me any questions on what we're about to talk about, which is Loopy Pro. Now, I'm going to be doing a lot of looping videos in the new year, but I'm going to be talking about Loopy Pro and a couple of things you can do with it. For those who've watched my tutorial on it, thank you very much. And I'm very, very stoked that the guy who created Loopy Pro, Michael, actually has put my tutorial interlaced into the app and as a link, which is really, really cool. I'm very proud of that. So you may notice there's a camera here, and that's because it's pointing at something, and it's pointing at Loopy Pro. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually show you what I've got set up and how I've got set up, and I am blaming DubFX for this right now. If you know what that means, well, then you know what that means. What DubFX and Michael Tyson, who made Loopy Pro, have done is they have partnered it with a couple of boards, and DubFX has basically got an APC40Mkii, and that's it right there. And I've never gone out and got something so quickly after seeing one tutorial, which was with DubFX. So if anyone's seen that, give us a shout out, give a thumbs up if you saw that tutorial. It was insane what he's been able to do. And what I've done is I've kind of mimicked a little bit of that, and I've also added a couple of things on my own, and I'm going to step you through what this is. Let's have a quick look at this for you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you this. I hope you can hear all this, by the way. If you can hear this microphone, that means you can hear it coming through the iPad. And I'm going to show you a couple of things as well. So first of all, I've got an audio interface, which is this one. This is my new audio interface, which is my Audio Fuse Studio by Arturia, and I'm going to be doing a separate video about that anyway. And then we're basically going into the iPad, and then also at the same time, it's also a USB hub, so this is why this is connected. So it's all connected through that, and then it's all going into the computer so you guys can hear it. And Loopy Pro, what we're going to do is, I was just doing something before, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly hit save. Now, I really, 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 really wanted to get the screen up on this, this screen up, fully for you, but just a couple of technical difficulties to try and get the audio and the video out on the screen at the same time at the moment because of this thing, because this is taking up the USB space. So what we can do is when you very first launch Loopy and you go into a brand new project, you see this, and you see these sort of different loop colors. And if you've seen my tutorial, you know why they're different colors. But what's really clever is that they've automatically patched the APC40Mkii into Loopy Pro, so you don't have to do a lot. Now, there's a couple of buttons that aren't used, and you can assign them yourself. And I'm going to go into assigning hardware via MIDI and via MIDI Learn, and it's so incredibly easy. And what you can do is, you can see right now, I've literally launched a brand new project up, and we've got orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And right here, you can see it's matched it on these top rows. So if I was to tap that right now, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can still do it here, and you can see I've got a stand here that's a little bit wobbly. So the idea behind it is not to actually hit this. And I've also angled this slightly to you guys so you guys can see it. But normally what I do is I tuck this in. This is the Moft Float iPad stand. So it raises it up, and then what I can do is I can tuck it underneath here, which is quite cool. And then I actually rest it on this, so it's a bit more, well, a bit less wobbly. I hope you can hear all this, by the way. This is the first time going live with this setup. So give me a thumbs up or just let me know if you can still hear all this. But if you are not into, well, if you're not into software looping, as I'd probably call it, as opposed to hardware looping, this is a bit of an eye-opener. And this is also why I wanted to do this live stream, because you can do so much with this, and it is very tactile and it's very mind-boggling as well. So we've got these loops, and they're all in different colors, so I could put them down in any shape, way, or form. The thing that makes Loopy Pro really, really different is these 3 little buttons down here, and it really does. So if you go into here, we've got a mixer for each one, and this is why the colors are so important. Let me just do that. There we go, so you can see that. So this is why the mixer is so important, the colors are so important. So each channel is done by color. My hand's now getting in the way of the focus, isn't it? So as you can see there, it's all done by color, and it's really, really clever, because that means that you can assign multiple colors, and then on top of that you can group stuff. So if I was to record something on there and record something on that one, they play together, and that's fine. But then also what you could do is, if you group them together, you can say, well, if you're recording something on there and you record something on there, that can stop and that can pause. I'm going to show you my project, and I'm going to show you what I've been doing with Loopy Pro. And what we've got is we've got a total of 8 tracks. Now the reason I've done 8 tracks is because this actually has 8 faders. It's 8 by 5, and I've done 3 versions of each, and that is a absolute copy off Dub Effects, and I'm happy to say that, mainly because he's figured this out, and it's really, really clever. But what I've done additionally is I've added a couple of things. So at the bottom here, we've got a couple of sounds, and then each one of these are groups. You might not be able to see this, but I'm going to zoom in, and then hopefully, no, you can't really see it. I'm just going to have to adjust the camera just a little bit, just so you can see it. I don't know if you can see it because it's too dark, but you might be able to see it on the purple one there. Do you see the way there's like a haze around it? That's the grouping. So you can group different ones there, and there you go. You can see that hazing there around there. So you see that circle, and you can group them. And that's really clever, because what that means is then they are grouped together in sections. Now, the way I've got this set up, and I'm going to show you this, if I go into the pencil tool, you've got move things around at the bottom. Again, using the zoom a lot today, aren't I? You've got move things around, you've got color stuff and group stuff together. So if you go into groups, you can quickly see, zoom back out, that this is group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And why is it 9? Hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I deleted one while I was making it. 8 and 9. So there's no 7. Don't worry about that. It doesn't really matter. Anna, how are you doing, UK? Happy New Year to you. Hope Santa brought you what you wanted. So the great thing is, if you tap one of these, it actually says here, play all loops and mute together. So you can play on music or play one loop at a time. And I've got it set up as one loop at a time. And then what you've also got there is this bottom row here. And these are the different things you can add. And then you've got a way of adding another row, and we can just add rows and carry on going and just make it smaller and smaller and smaller. Or you can add rows that way and just keep going that way. Now, it depends on what you want to do, and you can add stuff that doesn't have to be loops. It could be one-shots, which is what my orange ones are here. So I've got 6 one-shots. Or you can add buttons, and then you've got these. So I've got this button here, and what that does is it turns all the effects off all in one go. So if I then basically just, for a second, I'm just going to turn them all off. I'm going to hit this button, and now it's turned them all on again. And then turn that off, and there we go. Hi, Sim. How we doing, UK? Stop Sim. Okay. And then what you can do as well is you can actually assign a button to do pretty much anything. So if I've got an entire track on here, then I can just hit this button. And what I've done is I've got, when you hit it, it resets it. And when you let go, it resets the BPM. Now, so therefore, as you go, you're going to let go. That's the whole point. And I couldn't do two things. So you can go bump, bump, and do that. Does the audio fuse power the iPad? Struggling to find a way of connecting the interface and powering the iPad at the same time. Yes. This is a USB hub on the back here, so it's got basically 3 USBs, and they've got different power supplies for different ones. So yes, it does. And there's a couple of them now that will do that, and they're starting to realize that actually USB-C is cool because you can do through power. The other way of doing that, and I'm going to digress just slightly, is if you want to power stuff. Hi, by the way. If you want to power stuff, something that's really, really good that I've been using for a while now is this, and I did I did a review of it, which is the 12 South Stego. So the Stego is a USB hub made by 12 South, and you plug your USB-C into there, and you get power back, which is great. And then it's USB-C with a 1 meter cable, or it's really hard to take out, but it's there. Little stubby cable, so you can travel with it, which is really nice. So that's a really good option. There's loads of options out there. There's the hyperdrive options. They've gone really big now. Hyperdrive. I've done this really huge one for the Mac, and it's like really long, and it's got loads of stuff there. So it's all fun and games. Finally, I enter a stream that just starts and not joined at the ending. Ah, good. Right, okay. Yeah, I do that as well. There's 1 or 2 friends of mine on YouTube who are in New Zealand, and they do sort of live streams at very, very early or very, very late in the morning, and then I always end up catching the end of it. Or if in the US, it's completely different as well. So hi from the UK, right in the middle, but doing it in the evening time here, so I don't know what time it is where you are. So I'm just going to give you a very quick run-of-the-mill sort of demonstration of what I would do with this, and I'm just going to turn a couple of things back on, but not all of them, and I can assign buttons to them, but I haven't done that yet. This is still work in progress for me, but let me show you what I can do. So there you go. I hope that shows you a little bit of what you can do. And there we go. I'm just going to turn that back onto there. So I'm going to explain a couple of things. I'm also going to turn off all the effects. There we go. That's really useful to turn all the effects off and on so you can talk to the audience and then get back into it. Right, so Adrian, hi, how we doing? When you have the time, please show us how to set the recording at the master level to start recording after 1 hour, 1 bar, and then stop recording after bars. Okay, cool, no worries. 9:50 p.m. in DK, nice. Your Loopy Pro video was so useful. Good, thank you very much. I'm really happy. Thanks for doing this. So does the audio fuse have direct monitoring? Yes, I'm not really talking about the audio fuse today. I will be talking about it in another video, Sim, just so you know. But yes, just to let you know, it has main, it has Q1, Q2, and it has 2 speaker inputs. Two speaker sets of outputs. So you've got 4 speaker outputs. So if you've got 2 sets of monitors, you can do that as well. So yes, of course it does. And it's got queuing in. So that's how I'm listening to it right now. So I can hear direct back in. So it's going from the microphone to the audio fuse, into the iPad and back out again, and then into the computer. So I'm going to show you how you can do this. So if you haven't had to play with it yet, Loopy Pro is a app and it's available on your phone. I've actually got it on here, and you can actually do it on the iPad, and it's even available on Macs that have M1 as well, I think. Michael was talking about putting it on the Mac. And it's free for 7 days, and it's completely free for 7 days, which is really, really good. After that, it is a paid-for app, and it's not a subscription. I just want to get that out of the way right now. It's not a subscription. It is a renewal, okay? It's a little bit like Office 365, okay? You buy it, and then you've got it. That's fine, and you've got all the updates for a year. And then if he brings out a major release, you have to then buy it again after the 365 days. Does that make sense? So you've got it, and then you're not going to get any features taken away. So the features you get now, you're going to get, and you're going to continue to get it. So it's around about, in the UK, it's around about £28. And no problem. Don't worry about digressing. It's no problem at all. And it's just exciting to hear about new tech. So it's free for 7 days. So at the end of the day, I'm more than happy to pay for an app to help one developer. By the way, this is one developer. It's not a team of people. It's not an entire company. It's one company that is one man that has created Loopy HD, has created Audio Bus, and has now created Loopy Pro. And this thing is going to be, in my eyes, a game changer for not just looping, but for creation as a creation tool. And it was always going to be that way, that the next big thing is never going to be it's going to come out for iOS. It's always going to come out of the developer, some kind of developer to do it. It's really, really good. Anyway, so I'm going to go back to basics. I'm going to completely take this out now that I've got this saved as a session, because this is my session and how I've got this set up. And I've got a couple of things set up here. So just out of shot, there's a couple of more buttons here. Can I make that wider? Yes. So there's a couple of buttons here. So I've set them to change the clock length. So instead of 1 bar, it goes to 2 bar, then 4 bars, and 8, and then going back down again. I have not set any of these yet, and I don't know what I want to do to set these yet. I know I want to play around with the filters. Oh, that's wobbly, sorry. I know I want to play around with the filters using one of these. And then there's 8 faders up here. So I'm absolutely got loads of control. One thing that's really, really cool, and they've kept, is on this APC40, was originally designed to play massively with Ableton Live, and they realized the potential for Ableton Live, and that's why Akai made it. And it plays well with other things as well, but what they didn't realize as well is that there's loads of things it can do. So you've got Scene Launch up here, and Scene Launch obviously is from Ableton, and they work with this. So if I've got all these and then I press Scene Launch, it'll play all them. If I play that one, it'll play all them. So right away, you don't have to go do. You can literally press Scene Launch and it'll just skip to that. So this could be your verse, your chorus, and your bridge. Really interestingly, but you could split it all up into its sections. So what I've done, I am going to wipe this, by the way. I'm just going to go back to basics, but I just want to show you as well. So my drums, in inverted commas, are split into 2. And my kick and snare are always going to come into track 1, the red one. And then my hi-hat-y, cymbal-y sounds are going to be yellow. And you may have heard there, if you listen to it on headphones, you may not, or maybe just listen to it on your phone or your computer. I've got it basically, so there's a little bit of a delay that kind of swirls around on the yellow one, and that's this app here. And and again, these are AUV3 plugins. And I've also got a low-pass filter as well if I want to cut things out. And I haven't done much more than that, other than the effects you heard. And the effects you heard on here, this is Voice Rack, and Voice Rack came from TC Helicon. Now I've got TC Helicon stuff, and I really love them. And I really like their older stuff. And the Voice Rack app is really simple. You just basically can pick. There's loads of different bits. There's loads of different effects you can pick. There's loads of the ones there, and you can save them. There's 5 save points. So I've just saved the 5 that I use all the time. And then under here we've got a slicer, and under here we've got one shot. Now, anyway, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to get back into new project. Discard changes. Right. So if you get Loopy Pro, what happens is it will look like this afterwards. I'm just going to have a look at the chat because there's quite a lot of things going on. Very interesting about the ability to program the APC40 and controller plugins with Loopy Pro. Cool, good. That's what I'm interested in too. That's what I want to do. And there's a lot of things that are still coming. Things like MIDI sequencing, that's still coming. Michael, who has released this, he's released it now. It's saying basically there's 1 or 2 things he's just hasn't had the time to put in because he's been absolutely swamped. And one man trying to do this as family, I'm more than happy to support him with this. Sorry, I needed a drink. I'm talking a lot. So there's loads of different bits and bobs, but I'm going to show you how you can control stuff in a minute. Would it be possible to show how you can connect all your rig when including a guitar or bass or other type? Well, quite simply, this audio interface, it doesn't matter which, there's another audio interface somewhere around here as well, which is a Focusrite. All you have to do is, this is a iPad Pro, which is Type-C. And if you get an audio interface that's fairly new, like a Scarlett 2i2 Mark III or version 3, whatever they call it, it's USB Type-C. And then, or if you get an audio interface like this is a 8 in 10 out, I think. Or was it 10 in 14 out or 18 out with ADAT, if you really want to do ADAT. But this has got 4 ins on the bottom here, and that's my microphone there. That's the cable, and it's just got 3 others. So I could plug in a jack, I could plug in a guitar into this straight away, and it's got its own independent volume here. That's why I went for this, because it's tabletop based. I quite like that. And then I can see the individual volume and the master volume, and that's something that I have been missing. I've been missing our gauges. The gauges going from sort of basically, well, it's minus 60, I think here. Yeah, minus 60 up to obviously clipping. 48 volt on each one, and that's fine. But even something as simple as there's a Behringer audio interface you can pick up for now for about £40, and it's just 2 in, 2 out. And if you want to plug in a microphone and a guitar, you just plug them in as A and B, and this sees them now as separate channels. So it doesn't just see it as a left and a right; it sees it as channel 1 and channel 2, and you can bring them in individually. So yeah, so that's really, really useful. Cool. Thanks for doing this. Yep, cool, fantastic. Of loopers such as the RC300. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, I'm very into looping, and there is another thing that I have got in this room, which is a Boss RC600, and that's a hardware looper. I will be doing a video on that, and that is obviously a different kettle of fish. And there are a lot of people now questioning whether they should go hardware or software, and it is a huge change. And there's a lot of equipment that you might need, whereas a hardware looper is an all-in-one box that you can just plug in and go. And there is going to be differences, and I'm never going to say one is, fundamentally better than the other, because at the end of the day, they are for different reasons. Okay, so that Boss RC600 overview is going to be coming soon. I've got lots of videos planned for the RC600 as well. But with Loopy, there's also lots of videos planned as well as live streams, because I want to help you guys. I want to help you guys get up and running with it, and just get creative and get playing with it. So I'll be showing you lots of different things. Greetings from Mexico City. Wow, nice. That's cool. Love Mexico, actually. That's cool. I like that. Adrian, you've kind of blown me away a little bit there. I like that. That's nice. Can you program the buttons to certain plugins running and editing them while the encoder's on the right side? Okay. Yes. Basically, you have your plugins at the bottom. So if I was to add a plugin now, I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's just say we've got this as our base. All right. You've got these 3 little bits here. You've got zoom. You've got this basically gives you your mixer. These little bits. You've got these 3 lines here, which is the editor, which I have not gone into depth yet. And then you've got the pencil tool. So if you were to go into the pencil tool, or if you go into the mixer, or whatever. But if you go into the mixer, that's the main one. I'm just going to zoom out because my face is in the way. Just here is a plus button. And when you hit that plus button, you get a couple of things. You get add a color. It's like adding another channel on a mixer. Imagine having a mixer that's modular. You've got add hardware input. Cool. Add audio unit input, which is what we're going to play with. Add MIDI, and then add a bus. So think of this as basically if I add hardware input, that's me adding another channel, by the way. So to answer the question about connecting a guitar and a bass and things like that, right now, if I show you here, again, I'm using the Zoom a lot today, so apologies for the manual control. You can see here it says balance, mute, solo. So I've just muted myself. There we go. And you got solo, you got balance, just like a mixer, and then you've got the colors. And what that means is that color means where can this audio go to in Loopy Pro. So it's going to 1 and 2 out, so you guys can hear it, or the speakers, or whatever you're going to do. And then these colors here are these. So you can say, well, this is routed to this. Now, it will only route when it records, so therefore it can hear. That's fine. I don't have to have them like that. What I could do is, if you're using a guitar, and you want to separate the vocals and the guitar out, I can tap that and say, right, actually, what I want is I only want I want it to go to 1 and 2, fine, or I've got my vocals going through the main PA, and then channel 2 is going to an amp. But I want orange as my vocals. I want yellow as my guitar. So for this, I don't want it to go to yellow. So you de-tick it, and in that way, it's just routing it only to there. So when you make a recording and you're playing guitar and microphone, it's only going to pick up what's in the microphone. Yes, you're going to get some bleed from the guitar, but you get the idea. And you could do this for a whole band. You could basically you could have a channel for each one looping. So you could have a bass, you could have a guitar, you could have a keyboard, you could have a saxophone, you could have a microphone, you could have maracas, whatever, and each one could be dedicated to that. So how do you do that? Well, this microphone is channel 1. If I then go add a hardware input, and I say add, it automatically knows that I've got the audio fuse connected, so I've got lots of inputs here. So I've technically got 20 because of ADAT, but I haven't really got 20 physical inputs. But if I was to add input number 2, and then the input number 2 comes up, there we go. So input number 2 is there. Nothing's plugged into it right now. But if I was to plug my guitar in, I could say, right, guitar was only going over to yellow, and vocal is only going to there. So now they can only be recorded on those 2 tracks. Does that make sense? It's cool, right? So now what I normally do, of course, is with my vocal, I want to go to any looping track, and I want my guitar going to any looping track because I might want to hit it as a rhythmic, and that's just me. That's just how I want to be set up. But I might want to channel it completely differently. So I've got 4 ins. I could have a keyboard plugged in. I could do it like that. And then on top of all of that, what you've then got as well is above here is these. You've got these plus buttons. So you've got effects. So these are your own effects. These are your AV3 plugins. AUV3 plugins, sorry. So you've got your pluses, you've got your effects pre-fader, and you've got your effects post-fader. So what if you're not into mixing or mixers and you're not too sure what that means, what that basically means is if I put an effect here in the pre-fade, what that means is that if I move the fader up and down, then it's going to affect that with it as well. If I do effect post-fade, it's the signal going out after the fader. Okay, so whatever the volume is, it'll add it after the fader. So before the fader, which means it'll go with it, or after the fader. Okay, so I just had a big dinner, and my wife made a lovely sweet and sour, and it's sitting here. It was lovely. So we've got basically effects pre-fader, effects post-fader, and you can put this on the vocal as well. So you could, and that's what I did with mine. I've got this vocal chain. So if I tap on one of these, then what it does is, I'm going to move this camera a little bit because it's a little bit low, isn't it? Yes, it is. There we go. That's better. Right. Okay. The joys of live streaming in 2022. So these are all my apps that I've got that are USB 3 plugins, okay, including Loopy Pro itself. This is where you go into a proper Inception thing. But if you're not familiar with AUV3 plugins, they are either small little apps that need a host to work, or you may have an app that has effects on it. So I've got an app which is you've got the audio Vax one there. It comes bundled with some to begin with, so you've got band pass, you've got dynamics, high pass, high shelf, low pass, low shelf, equalizer, and reverb. And then every other one is either one you've got yourself. Mixbox, if you don't use Mixbox, amazing. LRC7, if you really want to dial in, amazing. To your dial in, didn't tell you what to dial in. If you're dialing into your EQ. There's multi-band. I've got loads. All these ones with the N, they're by Nambrini, and they're free. Go and get them. Completely free. There's loads. They do paid ones as well, but they're good. The wider, amazing. Tape cassette 2. How is that still there free? It's incredible. I think do a third version now. Rough Rider 3 is free. Rack Reverb is brand new from Audio Bus, and it's sublime. You can affect how much of the effect goes into it. It's really nice. Anyway, I could spend all day talking about AUV3 plugins, but what you then do is you add one in. And then once you add one in, so I'm going to add one in now. I'm going to add the one I had in before, which is Voice Rack Effects. So I'm going to add it in, and there it is. Can you hear it? How quick that was? It's kicked in already. Now, if I tap on it, it just comes up as a page, like as a window, wherever you want it to be. And I can, play with it inside its own window. It's not like Audio Bus where you had to leave the app and then launch it and then bring it back. It's on top. You don't have to leave Loopy Pro. So it's there, and it's there in the background. We've got a little bit of a light reverb room, so I'm just going to turn that down a little bit, but you get the idea that it's there. And then when you go back, what you'll see now on the bottom is now any audio effects, or not just audio effects, but any effects at the bottom. And as you add more, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. And you might have seen like the Dub FX one where you've got loads of them. And then you can see where they're routed here. So that is a pre-fader effect that I've got. And then we've got another little plus to add another one if you want to. You don't have to just add one. You can add many. It's as many as your iPad can handle. And this is an iPad Pro 5th generation, and I know it's got the M1 chip in, so of course it's very, very powerful. But there's, I think DubFX is running like an iPad Air 3rd generation, 2018 or 2019, and it is absolutely blowing its pieces. And the amount of stuff he's doing on it is incredible. So these chips are really, really powerful. Right, I've been talking a lot, and I've not been looking at the chat, so I'm going to come back to the chat now. That Looper thing you can do is so cool. Thank you very much, Andrew. That's great. Cheers. Sorry for the decode. No, it's fine. No idea how to update the version I bought. Okay. I don't know what you were referring to there. Basically, I'm still asking, can you run Loopy Pro fully, almost fully, with the APC40 and just use the iPad for looking at settings? Yes, you can. You absolutely can. So let me zoom out. So APC40-wise, I'm going to have to move the camera again now, aren't I? There we go. In fact, what I'll do is I'll bring it down a little bit. Ooh, look at that. It's like a nice little... Ooh, maybe I'll leave it like that. I don't actually quite know what it's set on, like focus-wise, what it thinks it needs to look at. All I'm just going to politely ask is, yeah, I need to tidy up. So please don't look at that. So I'll put my hand there so you can't see it. But yeah, so what you've got is you've got these, these buttons, and that's all fine. But you don't have to use it with just loops. So for example, I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to add in, underneath, I'm going to add in a grid. And I'm going to say to that grid, I want that grid to be 8 pieces long. This will make sense in a minute. And what this is it's a slicer. And I'm going to add that grid, and I'm going to give that grid a reason for living. No, I'm going to give that grid a purpose. So I'm going to say that grid is associated with track number 1. Okay? So you can give it a color, you can give it a name if you want to, and then I'm going to quantize it so it's only in 16 notes. Now, what you can do is this grid, if I move it around, I can put it wherever I want. It gives me a little box outside it, and I can literally just like that. I can make it bigger. I can make it really big. I can put it smaller if I want to. Or what I can do is I can turn around and say, right, let's just create a beat now. Okay, so this grid is associated with that. Does that make sense? So watch this. Okay, now I can do it all on from here, and what you may have noticed is down here there is now 8 white buttons. Okay, so Get the idea? So I've actually just created a transient drum kit out of my beatbox, which is insane that you can do this. So I'm going to show you how that works. What you can do is if you edit this, it says, do you want to divide the sample up equally into 8 parts or 16 parts, or do you want to do it on transients? So I leave it on transients, and then now I've got... I don't know how that works. Well, I know how that works, but it's amazing that you can just do that, and it can just go, right, okay, let's do it a completely different way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edit. I'm going to bring in a button. No, I'm going to bring in a one shot. So a one shot is exactly as it sounds. It's a one shot, and you can just one shot it. And I'm going to give this a different color. I'm going to actually add a new color. I'm going to give it purple. Okay. And then what I'm going to then do is I'm going to bring in another grid. And let's make that grid, let's make that 8 again as well, but we'll give it the same color. We'll give it a purple color. The color doesn't matter, that's just for aesthetics. I'm going to leave that there, but I'm going to tell that grid that the clip is going to be number 11 here, and you can barely see that. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Let me zoom back in. Let's do that. There you go. So, can you see that? Is that focusing okay? No? There we go. There we go. Right, so this grid here, it knows there's something there, but it's not a clip. So it says, well, assign itself to that. Okay, fine. I'm going to leave it on transients again, and I'm going to quantize it to 16ths. So now what I can do with this clip is it's a one-shot. So as soon as I tap it, let's just have a look at the mixer, it's there now, and it's going to be picked in. So, by the way, if you add a color, it just goes, okay, well, it assumes that all your audio interfaces want to go to that color as well. So I don't have to reroute it. It just does it for me. So now, instead, what I can do is I can go, let's just start the clock. Oh, yeah, it's got a clock on there, so let's just do that. Bah. Okay. Now it's on transients, so therefore what I can now do is I can go, ah. All right, so there's 7 there. So I can literally do that and go, all right. Now here's the really clever part. What I can now do is I can now tell the purple one to be able to be recordable in any of these. So I can actually then create a drum kit from that sample, record it in, erase that, create something else, and then record it back in again as well. This is how powerful this really is, and it's really, really clever. So the purple one right now just says go out to 1 and 2, but what I actually want it to do is I want it to be able to be assignable to everything else apart from the purple itself. So now what I can do is, if I hit record on here, I can play this. I can play it itself. Now, it hasn't come up on here, and I think the reason for that is because basically I think it's 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 deep, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's probably a bit too big for it. But what I'll do is I'll just see if I can edit it so it does come up on here. You're going to come up, you're going to play, you're going to be nice. Probably not, because of the size of it. Yeah. No, it's because it's too big. It's a different size, but... Right? So what I could do is, technically, I could hit record on here while playing on here. Okay, so that just crashed. It's probably because I've got loads of things routed with live streaming. So, but it can happen. But do you notice as it did crash, it came back in, it's right back there. So I can just go again. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the complexities of this. It's really, 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 really clever. Right, oh God, there's lots of people talking. I still have my Voice Live Play. So do I, the acoustic. I have the Play acoustic, and I've got that live with my RC500 and RC and the headrest looper board, and then very soon I'm hoping that the RC600 will replace that. You're selling the Aeros Looper, Sim? See, the Aeros Looper is a fantastic piece of kit, but it does have a couple of things that you just need to get your head around. It's a different kind of looping, right? I hope you agree with me on This does look so cool. I've been kind of intrigued. What is the all-in cost, and does it come with any of its own instruments? It doesn't come with instruments, no. All-in cost, it's free for 7 days, and then here in the UK, it's around about, I think it's £28. I think it's $30, if I remember correctly. Now that's $30 for the app, and that's it. And you've got to remember as well is it has an entire sequencer on board as well. So it could potentially be a DAW. You know, it could be a whole workstation for you, because also I'm doing all this on one page, okay? And some people might find that's limited. But you can actually have, wrong button, you can actually have multiple variances. So this is variant A. I could have variant B and it's just underneath, and variant C and D and E. So you could have lots of different variances all under one, but of course it would take up more processing power. Or you could load different projects with different parts on it, which is just mental if you think of it like that. Right, I'm going to break away for 1 second from this to talk about DistroKid. So the reason why I'm wearing this t-shirt is because basically this live stream is sponsored, and it's sponsored by DistroKid. They're the people who are a music distributor that you can actually send your music to, and they'll push it out to all the music and streaming sites around the world. So things like Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Tidal, all these other ones. But also they've started to push it out to people like Facebook and Instagram stories. And that's really important, because if you're doing some promotion work and you've got your music out there, you can attach your music to your story and promote it. DistroKid also do a couple of nice things as well. So they've got things like promo cards, and they make them for Instagram or Square, and they can interlace your artwork into it. You can also do things like NFTs as well now, which they're starting to do, and I was very lucky enough for them to mine one for me. So DistroKid has one price per year, which is $19.99, and this link here will actually get you 7% off your first annual membership, no matter which tier you choose, because there are 3 tiers, excuse me as I scratch my nose, including a label tier. So if you're a label, or you're thinking about getting a group of your friends' bands together, you know, in a pub, or you've got a community of people, you could be the label for that, and you can split the money as well. So they're really, really good. So thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring this video, and for the lovely t-shirt, by the way. It's very comfortable. And this live stream is all about Loopy Pro. Now, let's have a quick look. If you want wireless headphones to complete your rig and get ultra low latency, yes. Now, Sim, I've seen these. I've had a look at I haven't had a look at them physically. I've had a look online. These ultra low latencies, AIs. It's like an AT-AT. Do you say AT-AT or AT-AT? These ultra low latency headphones, and I'm kind of hoping that we're going to get to this point now where we will get ultra low latency. Now, we've already got it with MIDI, because I use the WIDI jack on my keyboard, which is just over there. And the WIDI jack is literally 3 milliseconds. By the time I've hit the key, you can't tell. It is a delay. I'm not going to lie that, but it doesn't feel like there's one. So that's with MIDI, and that's very small pieces of packet data. With this kind of stuff, and with music, you know, people want to record now in really high quality in 24-bit or 32-bit, which this can do, and so can the latest Boss loop stations. So to be able to get that audio, you know, there's wireless microphones that are obviously live on stage, but they are expensive, and they have big receivers and big aerials and things like that. So yeah, they're interesting about these headphones. I actually am interested in them. Just wondering what they're going to do with it. Wonder if you could route it out. Not sure if the M1X is compatible with iPad. Yeah, no, I'm not sure either. David Shannon, as I live and breathe. Happy New Year, sir. How are you? Hope you're well. Me and David have done one or two videos. A fellow loop mental case. I hope you're all right, mate. I hope I don't know what the lockdown situation is there, but I hope you are keeping yourself well, mate. And I hope you got what you wanted from your Christmas list. So sorry, inside joke there. We did a Christmas list video. I don't know if you guys saw that. Me, David Shannon, and Carl Watkner. So if you want to go and see that, go check it out. Got a couple of headphones. Didn't use them for a while, but then grabbed them, and they were all sticky. Something with the coating. Oh, okay, fine. Well, okay. Where is the master setting? Okay, cool. I want to set the record to only start after one bar. Oh, no, sorry. Callie, you did mention this at the beginning. I'm sorry. I've been chunnering away and I've not been talking about how to set up the settings for how you want to record. Well, it's not super simple, but it is. So in the top right-hand corner is 3 little dots, and I've just managed to blank the camera out again, haven't I, with my hand. So 3 little dots, 3 little lines there. And then what you've got is you've got clip settings. So if you go to clip settings, what you end up with is this, and I really hope this can focus in with the text and the words. There we go. So what you've got is you've got basically the play settings for each clip, and then also you've got the settings as well. Now, it does say at the top, settings shared by all clips in project, unless it's overwritten at the group level. So if you've told the group to do something else, that will override it, okay? But by default, play, stop, quantization will sync, obviously, the cycle. So, of course, you want it to loop. You've got a master, and you've also got custom or none. You've got phase lock loops to keep them locked even when they're not playing. One-shot quantization, if you want it, you can obviously lock that. And then you scroll through, and there's a lot more here. So hold on, play shots, record if empty, recording and retrospective recording. If you don't know what that is if you've sung something for 4 bars or 8 bars or whatever, and then you hit it, it will record that in. Then what you've got is auto count. So auto count automatically stops recording after count quantization. Then you've got literally constrain the length of the quantization, and you've got loop audio threshold recording. So you can say, well, it'll record basically when it hears a certain amount of threshold, and you can see that there's a threshold there. I've got one shot doing that, but not main loop. Then after that, and this is the bit you want to get to, recording intro. Record audio intro, which will be played before the loop, and it requires a count in. And record a tail. So if you've got effects and then you suddenly cut the loop off, it will cut the loop off. But if you put a tail on, it'll continue that until it can't hear any more below the threshold, which is really clever. Certainly if you've got like choirs and you've got that big reverb, you go, ah. You don't want it to go, ah. It'll cut off really nicely, and that's inside the loop. Simultaneous recording, obviously if you've got multiple tracks, you've got multiple things, you can turn that on and then record multiple at the same time, record multiple tracks at the same time. So if you want to record a vocal loop and a guitar loop and you want them to be separate loops, you can record them together. Then you've got after recording, what you do. So you've got play, stop or overdub, wait for playback, auto loop detection, and then auto end detect loop. So when the length is preset, punch out automatically to assist accuracy, disable and set the tempo as well. Okay, that's the loop. That's the clip settings. Okay. Then what we do is if you go into, where am I at right now? Oh yeah. Okay, there we go. If you then basically flick up, you can then get the information for each individual loop, and you can actually change the speed. You could change the playback settings individually if you want to. Then obviously flick down to erase it, or what you can then do is you can go into the track itself and say, well, actually for this system, and I'll just zoom out a little bit, for this system and the system settings, you can then actually go, 32-bit, blah, 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 if you want to. And then you've got, remember I said before, it's exactly the same unless you've got colors. You've then got color groups. So then you've got the settings for the color groups as well, okay? So there's the stuff with the metronome. So then this whole metronome system is there, and you've got access to like what you want the metronome to do, and you've got settings for that as well. For the metronome itself, and you can have it just routed to your headphones, or you could route out to the main PA, obviously. On the APC40, they've actually got a metronome section just here, and they've included it. So if I tap that, it comes on. I can tap tempo. I can change the tempo just by turning this dial, which is really clever. What am I doing? There we go. I'm not a very good cameraman, am I? And then the modes can be counting only, so you could actually have the metronome for just counting and obviously enable that. And there's different sounds. There's 4 different metronome sounds. Then you've got synchronization. And then there's synchronization with Bluetooth. There's synchronization with this. There's synchronization with virtual MIDI, my audio fuse, because it's obviously synchronizing with that as well for the clock. And then you've got offset clock settings as well for things like MIDI as well. Right, so there's lots to go through, obviously, with this, and even the tutorial was just scraping, the very, very top layer. So it's all fun and games. So then your settings for that, obviously, you've got. If I play this now, let me just turn it down a bit. There you go. So if I play this now, you can see there we've got the settings there. You can divide that, extend it, or multiply it, and then it says it's 2 bars. And then it says it's 4.992 seconds. The volume, the balance, the pitch, phase locked if it's free, play once. And then you've got your playback settings. Then you've got your global clip settings, your orange settings because it's an orange clip. You've got your follow actions, you've got your gestures as well, so you can do swipes for different things. It's absolutely insane what you can do with one loop. And you can have as many loops as you want. And maybe if you've seen the video, how many loops you can do? Well, you can just add and keep adding, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, I don't want to do that because I've got basically something that's a little bit dictated, which is how many buttons I've got here. So we just wanted to show you that. Khaled, there's absolutely loads this thing can do, and you can get pretty heavy into it. So you can dictate, what's on there and everything else. But yeah, there's absolutely loads. And if you haven't got what you want on there, then maybe message the guy who makes it, Michael, and he could just throw it in, because he does make updates to this regularly, which is really good. David, I realise you've got to go. Sorry, I have not got to your thing. You said you got to run, and you run in a Zoom session. And, oh, nice. You've enjoyed the walkthrough. Cool. Well, this will be available, obviously, so you can re-watch it back if there's stuff as well. I hope you're all right, mate, and it's all going well over there. Are you considering this as your main setup versus the 600? Now, no and yes. So in a certain scenario, this is what I will use, and in other scenarios, I for those who don't realise, I'm a live musician, so I use stuff live with a guitar, with a pedal board at my feet. So I'll be using, obviously, the Boss Looper. I want to replace everything with that on a live scenario. So if I go to a pub gig or anything else like that, but if I want to do something with a little bit of performance, I can use this, the APC40, with the Boss RC600 as well, by the way, but in a very different way because it's basically MIDI controlling. So I can use it for doing MIDI, not for really clips, but for doing MIDI controlling. But this setup as well, I'm going to be using it a lot more because I want to use it for creation. And for potentially live stream performance as well. So there's different things that I'm going to be using it for different reasons. I'm never going to leave a hardware looper, I don't think. There's something about a hardware looper which is robust and it's there to do its job and it's very, very simple. Whereas this, in the respect of the hardware loopers, you can get very complex ones, but a hardware looper does its job and it does its job very well. This obviously is a lot more complex and you can build pretty much what you want. It's like DSP Max, if anyone remembers that, where you've literally got a blank palette and you can just add in what you want, so you have to use that on the Mac, and it was very complicated. So yeah, it's fun and games. Swipe left, he says. I just swiped right and left. So there we go. The fact it crashed and back up so quickly, everything is okay, is amazing. I know, yeah, and this is the other thing as well. It's an app, okay? Apps can crash, things can happen. I can press a button, it doesn't like it, so then the iPad just goes, don't like this, and it reverts back to the original. But what's really clever is if it crashed right now, it brings up the previous state. So if I was to go up here and save this, it gives it a weird name, by the way. It's called Addicted Weather right now. It saves it, and you can also save in variants as well. So I've been building my own one that I like. It's got variants of the way I've saved it and saved it and saved it and saved it, like you can with like Logic, and you can with you can do where you can save it, and then it was like, oh no, it's like Time Machine where you can go back and save it again. So yeah, there's loads you can do with it, and I think it's an amazing piece of kit. From what I can see now, the Launchpad can do the same thing. It's cheaper, smaller, but with larger pads. It is, you're absolutely right. The one thing the Launchpad doesn't have, though, really is a set of usable, well, it does have controller knobs, but not as many as I want. And the other thing as well is faders. So I've got these faders here, and I've got a master fader. As you can hear, it's a master fader. And obviously controls the whole audio, which is great. So we've got 8 faders here for the loops, And then what they've also done here, these pop buttons here, we've got 1, A, B, S, and record. So S is solo, and then the 1, we can turn that off. I'm going to literally go into the mixer so you can see what it's doing. It mutes it. So if I turn it off, it mutes it, which is just there. I'll zoom that in. Whoop, wrong way. There we go. Whoop, that was too much. There we go. So right there, basically what it'll do is it will mute it, and then solo obviously mutes all the others, and then record will actually do that. It will record it out, which is really good. These ones, these ones, you can't see what I'm doing. These ones here are not actually assigned to anything yet. And these are clip stop, so you can stop the whole clip, and they are assigned to just stopping the clip. And so scene launch. And then I've got these eight knobs that I could also program up to individual ones as well. But yes, it also is native. So it's native support for APC40, Launchpad, and I think about 2 others as well. And it's because all you do is you just program up the same MIDI command. So you say, well, I want, MIDI command number 40 or note whatever to be that, and it's commanded up. So yeah, it does actually have the same MIDI command. So whether you plug in one of these or a Launchpad, it works. It's down to personal preference. I really like the idea of these faders here, these faders. I'm not talking well today. These faders and these device controls, I really like the idea of them, and they are assignable. So for example, I can just go in and go into here. Again, I'm going to zoom in, and there we go. And sorry, there's a lot of moving around. There's MIDI learn. So if I tap MIDI learn, now it's going into, right, what am I learning? So I'll give you an example, and just a very, very basic example. I'm going to zoom back out again. And yes, I don't know where my zoom in and zoom out is on this camera. I'm just going to do the master. Okay, now I've got a master here, but I'm just going to do it anyway, just for the sake of it. But no, actually, what I'll do is I'll do the master just for the sake of it. Right, so say that one. Now, right now, it says it's on CC14, which is this one here. And as you can, basically, it's the master fader to pull it up and down. I can just get rid of that and replace it with this knob or this fader, and I can completely control that. And then I can say, well, what mode do you want, and say, well, adjust continuously or go to the end and then go back to the beginning again. So I can adjust all this and completely do it wherever I want. But let's just say I want to control the balance. So let me just do the balance on my vocal. So it says now here on this side, move this over. There we go. It's saying listening for MIDI. So if I now do that, there we go. And what that's done, I moved that, by the way. I just moved it. You can see the little faders moving across there. You can see the little lights. It now says CC16. And now I've done that. Now if I move this across, if you're listening in stereo, that is now controlling the stereo output or the balance of my microphone. And I can prove that because if I zoom in, you can see it just there. See it moving around. So yeah, so you can do things like that really, really well and really easily because basically it's just MIDI commands, let's be honest. So it's a lot easier to do. Now, Grand Passes as well, got to run. Yep, cool. Also trying to get a Launchpad to play a drum machine into this. Thought it'd be on the device. It doesn't come up with on the menu. Koala comes up. So when you say that, when you say you're trying to get a Launchpad to play as a drum machine, then what you would need to do is build one. Now, the thing is, there's no built-in drums. However, what you can do is you could bring up a pad like this, and you could assign that pad to a loop or assign it to something like this. Now, if you missed that, what I did before, this is a one-shot. I'm going to clear this. Oh, it's still in MIDI mode. There we go. Let me get rid of that. Right, I'm going to clear this. And this is just a one-shot where I tap it, and then it can record it, and that's fine. Okay? So if I tap it, it'll record. I'm going to record a load of noises into it. And this is assigned to that, which is an 8-bar transient slicer. So, boom. Oh, let me just get rid of that. Whoop. Hey. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I always do 7. Have you noticed that? Weird. Anyway, what this does is this is linked, and then you say, right, well, make it either cut up individually, or sorry, equally, or transient. So now, if we just press that, it'll play. But you notice these? Okay, so what I can do is... So that's part one. The second part then is to go into the mixer for that, and that's the purple one, and say, well, that's available to be recorded on any of the loops, which is what I've done there. Okay, so it's just really cool, and there's people who are not even using loops. They've been using other things. So there's other stuff in here as well. So you've got things like, for example, one of these, which is just a fader. And you've got literally a movable fader. I'll just get out of there. And what you can do is you can just fade it. And what's really, really cool is you can assign that to anything. So I could assign that to the volume. I could assign it to a pan. I could assign it to an effect. So I could turn around and go, right, on that, when you do that, turn that effect up or turn that effect down. On some of them, on some of the AUV3s, you can actually grab individual control knobs. So if you've got something like, if we just go into... here, let's just add on, I don't know. By the way, you can add Koala sampler in as an AUV3 if that's what you really want to do. You could do that. Why are you not focused? Let's do that. There we go. Refocus. There you go. So you could add it in as an AUV3 plugin, technically, if you're worried about Koala sampler, because it will do that. Anyway, if I went into transient and I went onto transient, and there's loads of different controls in transient, and what I could do is I say, right, cool, MIDI learn, and then you can MIDI learn the piece that you want and assign it to a panel, and then away you go. There you go. You could just do that straight away and do it like that. So there's loads of different ways you can MIDI learn stuff, and you can then make that assignable. So as you turn that, it turns like, you know, the mix up, or you can turn other bits as well. So there's loads of stuff for that, which is really, really good. Right. Cool. Where am I up to on the chart? Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. And we've got basically loads to go, and we've got loads to go over, which I'm going to do in separate videos. So I'm going to create a playlist for Loopy Pro. And then as I add more videos, you can just watch that playlist and binge watch everything I create, which is great for me and also useful for you. Callie, thanks. You're welcome, mate. No problem at all. One massive tip to count in before first loop, which is essential to tap tempo and press before we play. Yeah, absolutely. So to get count in before first loop, which is essential, is to tap the tempo in, you know, and press play beforehand. You can do that. Of course, you could tap the tempo up here. So you can actually just get a tap tempo going. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you get the second one, it's done it. And then we can just get the clock going. And then you can do the flash thing as well. So if you go, now you can hear that, right? I hope you can hear that counter. So there you go, it's going. Now you could assign that to just your headphones so the audience don't hear it. So you can route that if you want to. And then of course we can just, and then you can turn the audio bit off, but keep the flash going. So, anyway, you see what I mean? Sorry, I get really carried away with playing these. I love them. I think they're great. Yeah, so you can do that. That's another way of doing it. Hi all. Fademan or Fademan. I like that. That's cool. Brian, clarification. Launchpad, the app, it plays stems. Oh, Launchpad, the app, not Launchpad, the Launchpad. Right, okay. Launchpad, the app that plays stems, etc. Okay. Unclear. I don't have Launchpad, the app, so unsure. But if it's got AUV3 support, it should be working. There's also technically an audio bus in this, so you can route audio stuff. So if you go to the mixer, you've got the option here to. There we go. Cool. Add a caller, add hardware input, and then add audio input, and then add MIDI. So you could do it via MIDI input, or you could do it audio unit input. So if it's audio unit input, that's the best way to do it because you can then control it directly on the page, or add MIDI. You could add MIDI in and do it that way. Or if you've got a keyboard, you can add, hardware MIDI in, if that makes sense. But yeah, audio unit input is the way forward, because then that way, if it is there, then you can do it. Now, this is different to AUV3. This is to play something. So you can notice that I've got a lot of keyboards and synthesizers on here. I've got Koala on there. I've got FRMS, Bass 808, Analog 909. So I could bring that up on a separate page and have the pads. So we could use the pads to actually play the drums, for example, and do it that way. So that is a little bit different. So if it's in that list, then yes, it will work. If not, then speak to the people who make AudioPad and do it that way. Clarification, cool. So can encoders be programmed to control the plugins? This is something that apparently is coming. So encoding wise, yeah. So it's like a MIDI signal, and there's also going to be MIDI sequencing as well. So MIDI sequencing is coming to this, where you can sequence stuff. So if you want to pan things left and right, and it goes, and there's some stuff you can do already, but then there's other stuff that needs that MIDI sequencer to tell it, move from left to right in sequence in 16ths or 8ths or things like that. So there's some things that are coming. If you get in contact, obviously go to loopypro.com, get in contact with Michael, and he can clarify all of that, because he knows every inch of this because he built it. Colin, heard that Loopy Pro has native support for Launchpad. Yes. Oh, there you go. We just talked about it. So when I talk about Launchpad, I'm talking about a controller. I'm not talking about Launchpad, the app. That's cool. Exciting to have to go. There's homeschool again for tomorrow, the kids. Thanks for now. You're more than welcome. Yeah, you're a little bit later than me, aren't you? You're more than welcome. No problem at all. And guys, I just wanted to obviously thank you for just tuning in. And this will be available on replay as well. So if you want to have a look of what I've done. Now, let me go back over to the projects, and you can see I've been playing around with it and got a couple of projects. But the one I have set my mind on. Oh, there we go. The audio changed. Did you hear that, by the way? The audio, as it moved around, the audio obviously changed, and that's fine. But did you hear that it didn't really cut out, which I really like? It kind of did for a split second, but not too much. So this is my sort of 8-track wonder. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that these guys are assigned. Yes, you're assigned to clip 1. Cool. I've noticed this as well. I've noticed once I go from one project to another and then go for it, it goes a bit nuts. So I am going to actually make that a bug report for Michael, and he'll notice that, hopefully, which is useful. Right. So it just shows you what you can really do. It's cool. Now, as I said to you before, I've got these actually linked with groups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely change the drum kit in this little song that I've just created on the fly. And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you how those loops behave. So you can have different lengths of loops for different loops, it doesn't matter, but then obviously when you go back to this one, which is this one, then that will cancel the other one out and go back to the original beat. You see it's still playing in the background, so here we go. Go back over to this one. It won't do it until that one has reached 0, not that one. So it won't play the loop mid-turn, it plays the longest length first, which is so cool. Really well thought out. So there we go. And I can stop all loops just by pressing that button at the bottom there. So I hope you've enjoyed that, guys. Thank you very much for listening and for me getting my camera angles all wrong. But thank you very much for listening. I hope that is been entertaining for you, but also you've learned something from it as well. Go and get Loopy Pro. It's free for 7 days, and then you can have a whirl with it. And it does take, there is a manual now which is available. My tutorial is there if you want to go and see it, and I hope that it can bring you some joy in a January joy, and then yeah, so it's all good. JP, you're lucky enough to do. Are you lucky enough to do the YouTube thing full time? No, I am not lucky enough to do the YouTube thing full time. I still work a day job. So I will be getting more time to do YouTube. But I am still doing a full day job and doing this on top. So that's why I never sleep ever. But I hope you've enjoyed this, guys. I'm going to end the live stream here. And if you want to watch back what I did, I know we flew around a couple of different things. But if you want to watch back what you can do, you're more than welcome to. And once again, this is sponsored by the guys at DistroKid. So thank you very much to DistroKid for sponsoring the live stream. And the link is there if you want to release loads of loopy music over 2022. Yeah, and thank you very much for coming over and watching. I'm going to sign off now and have a great evening or great day or great morning wherever you are. Thanks very much.